Take a look at where NVLink is headed. The computational fabric will, scale out what seems like a single amazing processor known as a GPU. We now have hundreds of GPUs that will be collaborating. As you may imagine, the majority of the current computing challenges, inference time scaling being one of the most intriguing of course, have to do with producing tokens at extremely low latency. As you just indicated, you will be self-reflecting by doing things like tree search, chain of thought, and maybe some mental simulation. You will also be reflecting on your own responses. You will be silently prompting yourself and creating text, but you should still be able to reply in a moment. That is only possible if you have a very low latency. In the meantime, the data center continues to focus on manufacturing high-throughput tokens because, as you may recall, you still want to minimize expenses, maintain a high throughput, and, of course, make a profit. Low latency and high throughput are therefore two essential aspects of a factory that conflict with one another. Therefore, NVLink is essentially our method of inventing something new in order to produce something that is truly excellent at both. Because you require it for context, you now have a virtual GPU with an amazing amount of FOPS. For token generation, you require a significant amount of working memory while maintaining amazing bandwidth. I suppose that everyone who is creating the models is also significantly optimizing things. For example, David and my colleagues retrieved data showing that the price of 1,000,000 tokens entering a GPT-4 equivalent model has essentially decreased 240 times in the last 18 months or so. Indeed, significant compression and optimization are also taking place on that side. The productivity of our software and the ecosystem of our stack are, of course, two of the things that we care about a lot in our layer, the layer that we work on. People often overlook the fact that everything above TUDA is subject to change because it serves as a strong foundation. It is difficult to construct a building or anything else of interest on top of a foundation that is changing beneath you. We were able to iterate so rapidly because of CUDA. I believe we simply benchmarked when Llama first came out a year ago, and we've increased Hopper's performance by a factor of 5 without ever changing the algorithm or the layer on top. Well, a factor of 5 in a year is not achievable with conventional computing methods. However, by employing this co-design approach and accelerated computing, we are able to create a wide range of new inventions. Indeed, to what extent are your largest clients considering the possibility of switching their infrastructure between extensive training and inference? These days, infrastructure is broken down. Sam just informed me that Volta had just been decommissioned. They have Pascals, Amperes, and all sorts of Blackwell configurations on the horizon. Some of it is designed to look cool, and some are optimized for air-cooled systems. All of this will need to be utilized by your services. Naturally, NVIDIA's advantage is that the infrastructure you create today for training will be fantastic for inference tomorrow. Furthermore, I think that the majority of ChatGPT is based on the same kinds of systems that were used for training only recently. And so, if you can train on it, you can inference on it. And so you're leaving a trail of infrastructure that you know is going to be incredibly good at inference, and you have complete confidence that you can then take that return on the investment that you've had and put it into new infrastructure to go scale. You know you're going to leave behind something of use, and you know that NVIDIA and the rest of the ecosystem are going to be working on improving the algorithm so that the rest of your infrastructure improves by a factor of 5 in just a year. And so that motion will never change. And so, the way that people will think about their infrastructures is, even though I built it for training today, it's got to be great for training. We know it's going to be great for inference. Inference is going to be multi-scale. I mean, you're going to take, first of all, in order to distill smaller models, it's good to have a larger model to distill from. And so you're still going to create these incredible frontier models. They're going to be used for, of course, the groundbreaking work. You're going to use it for synthetic data generation. You're going to use the big models to teach smaller models and to step down to smaller models. And so, there's a whole bunch of different things you could do. But in the end, you're going to have giant models all the way down to little tiny models. The little tiny models are going to be quite effective. Not as generalizable, but quite effective. And so, they're going to perform very specific stunts incredibly well. That one task. And we're going to see superhuman tasks in one little tiny domain from a little tiny model. Maybe, it's not a small language model, but tiny language model, TLM, or whatever. Yeah, so I think we're going to see all kinds of sizes. And what we hope is that, right, just kind of like software is today. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, artificial intelligence allows us to break new ground in how easy it is to create new applications. But everything about computing has mostly remained the same. For example, the cost of maintaining software is extremely expensive. And once you build it, you would like it to run on as large an installed base as possible. You would like not to write the same software twice. I mean, a lot of people still feel the same way. You'd like to take your engineering and move them forward. And so, to the extent that the architecture allows you to, on one hand, create software today that runs even better tomorrow with new hardware, that's great. Or software that you create tomorrow, AI that you create tomorrow, runs on a large installed base. You think that that's great. That way of thinking about software is not going to change. Nvidia has moved into larger and larger, let's say, units of support for customers. I think about it going from a single chip to, a server to a rack, NV72. How do you think about that progression? Like, what's next? Like, should Nvidia do full data centers? In fact, we build full data centers. The way that we build everything, unless you're developing software, you need the computer in its full manifestation. We don't manufacture PowerPoint presentations and deliver the chips. We build a whole data center. And until we get the whole data center built up, how do you know the software works? Until you get the whole data center built up, how do you know your fabric works? And all the things that you expect, the efficiencies to be, how do you know it's going to really work at scale? And that's the reason why it's not unusual to see someone's actual performance be dramatically lower than their peak performance, as shown in PowerPoint slides. Computing is just not what it used to be. I say that the new unit of computing is the data center. That's to us. So that's what you have to deliver. That's what we build now. We build the whole thing like that. And then for every single thing, every combination, air-cooled, x86, you do it all at scale. This is the part that is really interesting. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to refine.